Call order, March 23rd, 2021, City Council meeting. We'll stand for the pledge of allegiance, followed by a moment of silence, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Going to ask for approval of the modified agenda, and basically that's the city regular minutes as you've got them here in front of you in terms of the agenda. We're going to add the approval of CNC and changing their bid amount to $457,234.
So to be clear, you're asking for approval of the agenda with a new business item number 5 to approve the increase for CNC Lovejoy bid to $457,234.50.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So,
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion properly second. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
aye.
Mr. Quam?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Aye.
Approval of the March 9th, 2021 regular minute meeting. Approval of the March 9th, 2021 work session minutes. That's before the city council. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion properly second. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quam?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 1, approval of the flock camera service agreement in the amount of $2,750 from the 2014 SPLOST category, equipment for a camera in the district, Old Town Law, and to authorize Mayor Lample to execute the agreement and other related documents. You've had that before you. Do I hear a motion to approve?
That's one camera.
That one is one camera this time.
So moved.
Motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion properly second. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Vaughn?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Approval for the contract from Low Engineering for scope of work and services in the amount of $2,625 and for the 2014 SPLOST category facilities improvement, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract and other related documents. And the specifics were the raised concrete median on Morrow Road, the additional section of placemaking at the end of Murphy Drive, the multi-use path connection at 5900 Reynolds Road, and some path system maintenance at various locations. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Hear a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Aye.
Item number 3, approval of the contract for shear structural in the amount of $2,200 from the 2014 SPLOST category, facilities improvement and structural assessment of the boardwalk deck at the district, and for the scope of work for replacement and for authorization of mayor to execute the contract and any other related documents. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Hear a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quam?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 4, as stated by the city manager earlier, and she's going to restate it for me.
Yes. Approval of new business item number 5 to approve the increase of the bid for Lake Harbin sidewalks with CNC Lovejoy in the amount of $63,908.50. That increases the bid to $457,234.50.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quah?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
But Mayor,
Aye.
oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. We forgot four.
It's on the second page. Okay.
And I'm sorry, I did.
No, we'll pick it up. We'll go from there. Approval of the Public Works recommendation of It's Electric, one of the new businesses in the city, happy to have it, for the retrofitting, repair, and installation of the canopy lights at the Morrow Center in the amount of $2,456 from the 2014 SPOS category facilities improvement, and to authorize the mayor to execute the proposal and other related documents. You've had that before you. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quah?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
And Ms. Tran?
Aye.
First reading of an ordinance, it's only required one reading, and is an ordinance to amend the code of ordinance of the city of Orange, Georgia, to amend Title 8 Planning and Development, Chapter 1, Planning and Zoning Board, Section 3, Officers, structuring the appointment of chair, vice chair, secretary, and provide the convocation, and to provide for the severability to repeal conflicting ordinances, and to provide an adoption date, and provide an effective date, and for other purposes as allowed by law. In this particular case, it's the first reading. We'll have a second reading at the next council meeting. And from here, what we're going to do is go into executive session. It's probably going to be a lengthy executive session.
Mr. Mayor, could I have the city attorney advise on some of the concern before we could come into the executive meeting?
What's the advice related to?
Not anything related to any topic to the executive meeting.
Do you have a question?
So it's about the city business. So,
Do you have a question?
yes, I have several questions for the city attorney. So, does the executive meeting have to be listed in the agenda to post to public 24 hours before the meeting?
The agenda for the executive session?
Not the agenda, but when we are going to have an executive meeting, does that need to be listed in the agenda that we post to public, that there will be an executive meeting?
No, it's
There are requirements accordingly to open meeting rules.
so under the Open Meetings Act, your agenda doesn't have to be posted to the public. Under your standard form, it does have a space for executive session. Whether or not the council needs to take that executive session will be voted on at that meeting. And it's my understanding that on your agenda, the format of your agenda does contemplate whether or not the council has to go into executive session, so it's sufficient.
It's always written on
It's always
it.
on.
We just don't use it.
Well,
Often.
we don't do that all the
So-
time. We can't.
So do we have to have that in the agenda or we don't?
No, what she's saying is it's already on your agenda, every time. We just don't necessarily use
I
that
see.
line item.
It was on this agenda, which was published.
It's not on everyone, but it is on this one.
Okay, so what is the consequence of an executive meeting that happened, but the executive meeting is not listed in the agenda posted to public?
Well, the council can take any action at a council meeting to amend their agenda at the council meeting if necessary. And so if you're asking if it's gonna be invalidity or if it's not gonna be valid, then that's not a consequence. Whatever happens in executive session, if there's a call for executive session, the call will be made at the meeting, and then we can go into executive session upon the appropriate motion and vote.
Thank you.
Okay.
And can the ordinance overrule or supplant the charter?
What, can an ordinance, I'm sorry?
Overrule the charter.
Can we have an ordinance that overrule or supplant the charter?
That I would have to look into as far as if there is a conflict or if there is incongruency, or, I'm not. Are you saying it's a conflict with the charter, an ordinance has a conflict with the charter?
Are you asking if?
What if the charter gives one direction and we have an ordinance pointing to a different direction, not following the direction that the charter articulates.
So generally, your overarching charter would govern. If there is a change, your charter can be amended though by mayor and council, depending on that type of change. And so just depending on whatever that amendment would be, we would have to see whether or not, that could be done.
But so say the charter articulate that the board member have to nominate, have to vote for the chairperson. Can we write can we have an ordinance that say that the mayor will have the authorization to appoint chairperson for the committee?
With that, respectfully, I'll have to look into that to see exactly what you're talking about. So I don't feel that it's fair to just kind of answer something ambiguous off the cuff like that. And so if you could give me more information about
In
what's
this
going.
case, it's not really the ordinance. We got one that's pending where we would change how the chairperson of the planning and zoning board is appointed. Right now, they elect their own.
Okay.
We're asking for 3 different sections. One is the chair, the vice chair, which is similar, and the other one would be the secretary. Technically, we're making a minor modification to the actual charter itself.
Okay, so if I could get that information, if that's something that is approved to be reviewed, and you want a formal, decision or a formal opinion, legal opinion, I'm happy to review it. If you just get the information to, Sylvia, and she can get it to me, and I can do an advisory, memorandum for the board.
Thank you for that, and we'll waiting to hear from you. And then the next one, let me see. What would be the next one? Okay. Okay. And what is the risk? What are the risks for the city when the city hires a non-licensed contractor?
What's the risk for the city to have a non-licensed contractor?
A non-licensed in what context are you saying?
There was a
In
legal,
general, if,
there was
what
a
if
legal
city
opinion
hire,
Right.
that
Yeah.
basically said there was some
The city
disagreement as
gets
to what,
involved.
if it was required or not. You gave us a legal opinion that basically said here are the criteria where a licensed general contractor is required.
Okay, so the previous
And
memorandum
here
that I
is
did.
where a
Okay,
licensed general contractor is not required.
okay,
And for the basis of it, even beyond that, over and above the city itself, if Renee's building was being worked on and that person was doing non-structural work, i.e.
That's
painting,
right.
carpeting and things like that, a general contractor is not required by Georgia law.
that's correct.
If you're outside of the public works construction contract over less than 100,000, and it's also not doing structural work,
You don't
it
follow
is
the
also
state
not
procurement.
required
That's
by law.
correct. That's correct. So, I,
And she has an opinion on that, and you wrote the opinion, and each one of the members of the council has been given that opinion.
okay,
That is correct, right?
I saw that her opinion. I'm asking her, what is the risk of the city getting involved when we hire a non-licensed contractor?
okay, I can research that and just kind of see, but it depends on, again, it depends on the type of work that the contractor is performing, because again, the designation is broken down in the legal opinion that I gave you as far as what it requires a licensure and what does not. So, I mean, that's something I could totally review, that's.
Well, it is, and my question, if I may, Mayor, if I may, is that a legal question? I mean, is there a mathematical equation? Is there a legal equation to calculate risk? I'm just curious.
It's not actually, I mean, it's not really a legal question, but as far as if it's compliant, I think the legal question was, when can you and when can you not under the state law? And that was what was provided in the previous,
And as long as
opinion.
a contract.
Means that when we are required to hire a licensed contractor, but we don't, what is the risk that the city, what is the risk for the city when we do that?
okay, I could Okay, so based on my legal analysis, what's the risk if we don't comply with what the state law is saying? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, I can research that because that's something I need to look into.
Thank you. And then by the charter, section 3.12, it says that, talking about the city attorney, it says the city attorney shall advise the city council, mayor, and other official employee concerning legal aspect of the city's affair. So what way for the council to access to the city attorney?
I think that's been stated before. You can submit your request to the city manager or to the mayor.
Okay.
On behalf of the city council as a whole, we will submit them to the city attorney. The city attorney will give you them in writing, which is what we had and what we submitted recently, and that will come back to you. What that does not allow is necessarily anybody outside of the chief administrative officer or the chief executive officer to individually go out and reach out to basically the city attorney and solicit their own specific advice. And that's also.
Could we have something, could I have a document showing that we regulate the operation that way?
If you need it in more than the verbal format, I'm sure we can write it and send it to
Yeah.
you.
I'll draft.
And because I was in January, back in January, when I needed the city attorney advice for the city's business, I was advised that I have to get the approval by the city manager and the mayor.
It's going to be channeled to the
Correct.
city manager and the mayor. That is correct.
No, I have to get the approval by the city manager and the mayor
Depending on which order you're looking
to
at.
get the attorney.
If you have a legal question, submit it to the staff. So you rarely do you submit anything to me. So, I don't know that anybody's been denied a legal opinion on something. Just ask the question. Otherwise, tell me what somebody has not given you the answer to.
Mayor,
That's
if I
all
may.
that's all the questions. Thank you for that. And so, in that case, how much time do we need to notice the city attorney that we need you to come to the council meeting? Our council meeting is on the Tuesday of the second week or the last Tuesday of the month. So how much time do we need to notify you that we need you to be at the council meeting?
This is going to be where, at the request of the city council or the staff, is when we'll ask it. Generally, if you have a question, ask it. We'll get it submitted. We'll get it back in writing because you're not going to want verbal anyway. Plus, you're going to want them to have the opportunity to study it, right? They're going to have to go look and give you the supporting document to go with it. So I think that depends on the items at hand. Like tonight, we know we have an executive session. We know we have some things that we need to discuss. The city attorney is here for that purpose, and that's kind of on the fly. That'll be as the discussion unfolds. Fairly rare for us, but if we're asking questions or somebody has to do legal research, having them sit here isn't going to help with an answer that they have to go and research to get you for. That's just being cost effective with your money.
I would like to hear the answer from the city's attorney.
Again, it's up to mayor and, it's up to the mayor to set whether or not I come to the council meeting. That's totally up to discretion of the mayor.
However,
So could we have something document that, something regulate that, it has to be that specific way? Do we have any policy in place saying that?
We can write you one if you need it.
well, and I would like to say now, when we call Luana 4 hours before the meeting, that's also part of the conversation, is that we want to try, when the mayor does elect to have her present at a meeting, and probably at the request of a council member, which is the way it's happened, then we need to be cognizant that Luana just can't be here every time 4 hours in advance. So she has asked that we try to let her know when we know, but at a window of at least 2 days before. And I think that we can
And
do.
I think we're being reasonably
Yeah.
fair. You know, we're not, very few things are being done in an instant. It takes us weeks to be able to lay things out there, right? It's one of the few times where, you know, it's like on one hand, if we're giving you too much information too fast, now suddenly it's like, I want faster information, we're capable of being able to deliver. Interesting. But we can write a policy if there's not one that's that clear cut.
Yeah.
And it's not hard.
If a council member has something legitimate that they would like the attorney to answer, shouldn't the other council members be made aware of what that is?
Which is pretty much how we've been doing it. As it's been submitted, usually it's
That was-
written by
right.
email and then
Well,
sent.
that's the decision
And
that you
then
all
it's-
made, is
that's-
that whatever was communicated to the attorney, if she had a communication, that it
Came
goes
back
to all of
us.
you.
Mhm.
And pretty much I think that's held up.
Right.
Does anybody know of a case where they haven't received the data? Now, it's your choice to read it or not. It may not be important to you or not, but the point is, I don't think, you know, it's an internal debate so much.
Right.
And I will
And it's
say,
been this way for a very long time.
and I don't mean like the conversation that gets us to an end product. Sometimes you're only gonna see the end product, the memo.
Don't confuse a legal opinion
Right.
from a political
I'm
discussion.
not gonna necessarily share every single email we exchange.
Just,
The
you may not like
culmination of the
a
day.
political opinion.
Right.
It may not have anything to do with fact.
So
It's a
usually-
political decision. Make a
usually-
political answer.
Usually, as I understand it, council will boil down what issues they are. They will give them to Sylvia, she'll transmit that to me, and then I'll make sure that I disseminate a legal memorandum for council.
And I think we need to write that clear. Let's put it on the next agenda to make it clear. All right, let's go into executive session. Do I hear a motion?
And, Mayor, I still have 2 more questions for the attorney before we go to executive session.
All right. It would have been helpful had you submitted these in writing, Van, but go ahead.
Well, I didn't know that the attorney will come into the meeting until this afternoon, and I'm sorry, but I wasn't prepared. So it appears in the charter, section 3.32, that the mayor is the chief executive officer of the city. So I looked into several resources, information, not with the definition of the government form of the strong mayor. So, and I know that having this question right this second, I don't expect you to have the answer right away, but if you need to do your research, please do so, and you could come to the next council meeting with the answer, or you give us the formal, a written advice for us. That will be good.
For the interpretation
I
of the
just
charter,
want to
or?
understand what is the form of city of Morrow government.
The form of Morrow's government.
The city, because, I was right, we are, city manager and council, but it doesn't look like it's strictly what the charter articulates. And other resources I have looked, so I need the advice on that.
Our charter's got a split mix to it. There's no question that we have a professional management as a section. It definitely has, the mayor has the chief executive officer, but not to be confused with the mayor being a full-time employee and then having operating staff. You can have whatever mix you so desire in terms of what you submit to the legislator, and they approve it. They obviously approved it, and it's kind of what it is.
I mean, are you comfortable she's just gonna go and do all this, or do you all need to vote as a body that she's gonna do all this?
Just let it play out. It's gonna matter. What other questions do you have, man?
Yes, and the last question. I need to exercise my due diligence, and I cannot prepare to the discussion matter, and I don't get the information without the timely notice. So I got the agenda package on Friday, and the council meeting is happening on the next Tuesday. So that impairs my ability to govern effectively, and I need to have a policy to where the council gets, all the council members get the agenda package 5 business days before the meeting.
That's not a legal question.
It's a political question, but it really comes down to a little bit of reality too, is we don't have, and you know this, we don't have a city clerk, right? And the city clerk does the minutes and the different things along those lines. Obviously, we're getting a city clerk. You know, we do the best we can. For the most part, we try. I don't know that the agenda is so much of an issue as some of the supporting documents, but if you want to operate a business effectively, example would be CNC, you know, you take it as it comes up. You know, if you don't want to add it to the agenda, don't add it to the agenda. That's a political decision. You say, don't really care what happened. I'm not going to add it to the agenda. You don't have to. Now, if we do it in a timely fashion, then it's automatically on the agenda. So by default, you have some tools, but your tools also require your teammates to participate. If you can convince them not to add it to the agenda, good for you. We'll delay whatever is necessary until such time. But again, these aren't things that are new. These are things that are very common. It happens all the time. Nobody's trying to make your life miserable. We're trying to give you as much information as we can. Obviously, we want you in a position to be informed and make a good decision. And I don't know that anybody is actively trying not to put you in that position. But that's a political discussion. Anyway, do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So,
Motion on executive session?
So moved.
I got a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quan?
Aye.
Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
I
We will go and have some fun, and we'll come back.
And so Councilwoman Tran, you'll need to get out and then re-engage.